But I think,
Like being a chimney sweep.
yeah, I think, yes, exactly. I think my dad, I never thanked him. Only recently did I realise that he saved me from that, because he saw me arrive home, and as a kid,
Yeah.
you're exhausted.
Yes.
You can't do a full day's work like that, and the stress and the experience and everything new. And he wrote to the bandmaster of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, and asked, will you take my son? And they said, yes, be very happy to. They didn't know me then, you see, but go along and take the test, and I was accepted. And on the day, the weekend before I was supposed to start my job at Bradford Pit,
Okay.
I was told that I'd been accepted. So
Good. I mean,
I didn't go down. I didn't go
Time
down
is
the
everything.
pit proper. I never did that.
yeah.
But those were,
Well, Bradford, in terms of the location, you would have had to have left home.
would I really?
I know I'm saying Bradford, yeah. I mean, it's still
Yeah.
Yorkshire, isn't it? Or was that just the name of the pit?
Bradford. I just remembered it as Bradford Pit. I thought that it was on the outskirts of Manchester, but then, as we've said, as a kid,
Yeah.
see, you remember these things as an adult, but I was just a kid, and I'd never travelled very far. Travelling to the Robin Hood Pit on the bus every day, that was as far as I had really travelled.
That's why I thought, well, you mentioned it before, the Bradford pit, in
Yeah.
general conversation. I thought, well, that would be quite a commute, but or maybe he's going to...
I got the impression that it would have been something that I could have travelled to, but it never came to that, fortunately. So I went into the army. I still remember.
Can I just ask you, for the interest of maybe viewers, what rank did you would you go in the army for? With?
I was a boy soldier.
I mean, did you have a rank when you came out of that particular?
When I came out of
you were
the army.
corporal, or you? What?
No. I rose to the dizzy heights of private.
Well, you're a private.
I was a private. I went in as a boy soldier, and at 18, that changes. That's when you begin your service. They didn't tell me this.
I see.
I went in, and when I was signing at the recruiting, they said, well, you can sign for 3 years or 6 years. For whatever, my father, I listened to my dad, well, he can sign on for 6 years. Well, 6 years doesn't sound long, does it? What they didn't tell me was it didn't start until I was 18.
Your third year, basically.
Yeah, see, until I became an adult.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I believe then that when you got to the age of 18, then you would have assumed
I became
a private.
Private. Oh,
And-
actually, my rank was bandsman.
Oh,
So I was bandsman.
in army terms, you would have been a private.
Yes.
What I'm coming to is just for a bit of humour, is that I hear you were very consistent in the army because you went in basically when you started as a private, and when you left, you came out a private.
I
So you would-
absolutely, I stuck to it. I was in one of the bands that I finished my service in was the REME, Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. Of course, nothing to do with what I was still a bandsman when I went into that band. The band, but that was the staff band, so much better, much higher quality. But in all of those bands, they have an allowance of so many corporals and so many lance corporals, which is like a half corporal, and so many sergeants and a bandmaster. So if you go there and you don't behave as I didn't, or as I did, misbehave, you can do the whole thing as a buck private, as the Yanks would say.
And also, you've got nowhere to run, have you?
No. Boy, I learned in the army. It's funny, I see a lot of, very entertaining movies about the Marines. The Americans who say you're always a Marine, and they put you through it, and you come out, and you come out of those so totally capable about everything. I came out as I was still only 15 when I came out, because I didn't know how to pay a gas bill or an electricity bill. I didn't know anything about life outside. In fact, some of the people that were discharged at the end of their term came back in, who were absolutely firm on, oh God, I can't wait to get out. And when they got out and they found that they were ill-equipped for civilian life, and they came back in. Actually, I considered at one point, when I was about to be discharged, I talked to someone who was a student bandmaster at the College of Music that the Army has, and he said, if you go right or wrong, said, you could go into the Canadian Army. You could join the Canadian Army band, and you would have instant rank of sergeant. Because I'd taken all the exams for music while I was in the Army, and I was a first class. I was actually a first class tradesman, so that made a difference in my money. But I thought about it, and I thought another 6 or 8 years in uniform? Nah.
Yeah.
Don't
And
think
it would have been more difficult for you to adjust even after the second period,
I think so.
So you might become institutionalized?
Yeah. Well, I actually went and auditioned for the Welsh Guards. Now, the Welsh Guards is stationed in London. Welsh Guards and all of the other Coldstream, all of the Guards bands, they are the creme de la creme. So the best musicians go there. And I went and had an audition, and they accepted me for the Welsh Guards. But then they saw my records, and it said on my records, he's not psychiatric, but will never be any use to the Army. So that was it. They declined to go through with my transfer, which would have been nice if I was stationed in London, because a lot of the people who are in the Guards in London are able to do gigs outside. No.
I get the feeling, quite a little discussion here, Terence, that you seem to be offered positions in which you're in the Army, and especially the band side of it. There wasn't an English band in there.
There wasn't an English band. No, the Argyles is a Scottish band.
Yeah.
Right. And full of Scotsmen.
Yeah.
And I learned. I didn't know this as a kid. I learned that the English aren't really liked by the Scots. It's not an automatic. It's not an automatic thing.
I was just thinking when you were just describing that, and then because of your qualifications, and you could have gone to the Canadian Army band, and then the minute later you said, "Oh, I could also have gone into the Welsh Guards." But there's nothing English about that.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it just happens. I also went to Woolwich. I think that was the Royal Engineers. Not quite sure. That's also a staff band. You have the regimental bands, which are the line bands, and they'll take anybody. Well, they took me. In the beginning, they took me. I didn't play any instrument, so they're the rabble. Even though there are very fine musicians in those, but the staff bands only work in the morning. So they go in at 9 o'clock and they finish about 12:30, and that's their working day. And if they're living in London, they would get an allowance, I'm thinking, for where they live. So that would be, for some, that would be quite a nice life, if you were very practical. which I was never, in all my time, I was never accused of being very practical.
They say time changes everything, though.
Yeah.
So,
But I often think it's our near misses that, like, I didn't get to go into the Guards band, the Welsh Guards band. So that was a miss. That was something that I missed. But didn't you almost go into the company that made the aircraft that was famous?
yeah, that was a very near miss. But,
Yeah.
I think I'd like to explain that maybe on another video, as a separate video on its own. And
Yeah.
it's quite an interesting story, actually,
Right.
in context of what it is. So,
How are we doing on time on this?
I don't know.
25 minutes. I think we've waffled on enough.
Well, I'm sure you'll edit it, won't you, in some way? Or
No.
May not. May
I'll
not
just
have
put
to.
it on. Just put it on like this. But anyway, so
here we
this-
are.
Yeah, this is us, and we have these meetings every Tuesday and
Sometimes Friday.
Yeah, Thursday or Friday. And if you're a foreigner coming out here and you're going to take on a life in the Philippines, you really have to be aware that it's wise to have a support group, which is what Michael and I are to each other, that you can come and, without actually putting down the entire Filipino nation, you can voice a few complaints without going into the victim mode. Well, we'll be back. I don't suppose this will be the last time.
So
Thanks for
at
looking.
the moment, we don't want to sound like the two Ronnies here, but
No.
as they used to sign off with, thanks for watching.
All right. Didn't want to say it, so it's good
night
night from
from
me
me.
and good night from you.
We've got to remember it. See you next time, guys.
See you.